Guys, it's Phil the MMA Dude back with the Split Decision Podcast, episode number 109, here with my always brilliant co-host, the Fight Geek. Fight Geek, how you doing today, man?
Doing excellent, except for the 110-degree heat here in Phoenix. How are you, man?
Oof, sounds brutal. California would never.
It's rough, man.
California would never, bro. But I digress. Okay. Guys, here's what's on tap today. We've got a review and recap of UFC Fight Night, Strickland versus Hall. Another recap and review of Bellator 263, Pitbull versus Mckee. Then we've got a preview and picks for UFC 265. After that, my favorite section, listener questions and more. But wait! There's a big twist in this episode. I've got a secret for the audience, Fight Geek.
What is it?
The secret is that we are starting off this episode with an exclusive interview with a friend of the program, the one and only Gilbert Dorino Burns. So we will start off with that, man. Absolutely. We're going to take it away right here. We'll be back after that. Hey guys, this is Phil the MMA Dude back with the Split Decision Podcast, here with my friend, the one, the only, Gilbert Dorino Burns! Gilbert, how you doing, my man? Thank you for joining us again.
I'm doing good, brother. You're so ready. My guy, Luque, fighting this weekend. Yeah, excited, brother.
Hell yeah. Okay, so you brought up the Luque fight. I know you're there for your man, Vicente. How do you see that fight going? I know that, you might, I know you're a little, biased towards Vicente, you're his friend. How do you see it going, though?
Tough one, to be honest. I think Kiesa, it's a very tough opponent. Very, very good. Don't get a lot of credit, but he does a very good job of controlling his opponents. I see a tough fight, but I can see Vicente putting up a finish by a tough fight, grinding out, keeping the fight on the stand-up by second, third round knockout. That's the way I see it going.
I love it. Okay, you heard it here. You heard it here first, folks. Gilbert Burns says second round knockout. Okay, I love it. So Gilbert, let's just jump right into it. So right now, it's no secret you've been calling out Nate Diaz. Now, some people have the question, why call out Nate instead of a top 5 opponent? But I think I know the answer to that. But what do you have to say to those people? That was a big question I was asked to ask you.
Because they say no already. Leon already said no, or he already said no. I said okay, and I had a feeling that I thought Leon might fight Jorge. That was the thought that I had. Like, okay, so then Wonder Boy, then Kiesa and Luque. Then Damian Maya, a couple guys that doesn't make no sense. I was just like, yo, give me Nate then. But he's smart too. You don't want to fight. So we'll see. We'll see who's next. I still get a couple more names, but we'll see. I hope I can see. I'm having a talk with Sean Sharp this week here in Houston.
Oh, great.
And then we'll see. We'll see what we're gonna do next.
I love it. Okay. So on that note, if you don't end up fighting Nate next, who would you like to fight if you don't get Nate? Who else?
The first fight that I want is not even Nate. The first one that I want is Leon Weather. That's the first fight that I want. If Leon does a one or he can't or I don't know, then give me Nate or Jorge. Those still my best option. My 3 options are Leon first, Masvidal second, and Nate third.
Right.
We'll see.
Makes perfect sense. Okay. So, just moving along, Dana White recently gave a little bit of a critique on your performance against Wonder Boy. He said that you won. It wasn't an exciting performance. My personal opinion, I thought that was pretty crazy. I mean, I thought you did exactly what you needed to do in a fairly exciting fight, frankly, to take him down in control. Does that kind of thing get to you? Does that make you change your mind on how you're going to approach fights, or do you kind of not let that stuff bother you?
A little bit, gotta respect what Dana says. At the end of the day, he's the promoter, he's the boss. For sure, gotta, take a little bit of consideration what he says. But I think, like you said, I think it was a great fight. Wonder Boy, I just break the record on the guy. I just saw his interview. He's still mad about it, but I put a record on the guy. No one took him down 3 times like I did. No one controlled him the way I did. And I don't even got scratch fighting that guy. The dangerous kickboxing. So yeah, I think it was a great performance, but wasn't as entertaining as they put a perspective on me because they know I push the pace. They know I want to finish. But you know, if you put a guy as a Wonder Boy, tell me a guy. You just take Anthony Pettis out of the conversation. Who beat him in a very exciting fight? Nobody.
No one.
He doesn't make exciting fights, you know. If you fight him smart, it's not exciting. So I think the fault is more on Wonder Boy than on me, you know. And people want to see that. Okay, give me my next opponent. You guys gonna see a little violence. He going crazy for the finish. But I think the fault is more for Wonder Boy, you know, than myself.
Absolutely. Okay, so let me ask you this outright. Obviously, you mentioned that both Leon and Jorge are your preferred opponents even before Nate. Are both of them ducking you? Can you say outright? I mean, I know people are thinking this, but are they ducking you? Are they scared of you?
I think they are ducking me because I call both guys out and loud on Twitter. I got no response. If I really want to fight someone, they call me out and say, let's do it. You know, let's go. That day, yeah, let's go. But I called both guys out. They didn't respond. Both guys are active on Twitter. They sing, they posting. So for sure they ducking. For sure they don't want that.
Absolutely. So Colby Covington versus Camaro Usman 2 is now confirmed as the main event for UFC 268. You obviously go far back with Camaro. You train with him. What is your formal prediction for how that fight goes?
I think it's a finish by Camaro. Camaro's been a freaking monster, getting a lot better. Finish me, finish Masvidal, asking for another fight. And being active, being evolving. He's a freak, very strong, great wrestling, getting better on striking. I got Camaro by a finish. Inside the 3 rounds, they got Camaro by a finish.
We agree. I've got the same prediction. I love it. So this question comes from the Permanent Marker MMA, and he wants to know about your current relationship with Camaro. Obviously, you two used to train together. You were very close. You recently obviously fought for the title against one another. Are you two on speaking terms? Are you cool?
Yeah, for sure I'm cool with Camaro. No, he's a champion for a reason. A great guy, works hard. We have kind of like the same work ethic. And for sure, I respect the guy. You know, we fought. I tried to destroy him. He tried to destroy me. He got a win. We move on. You know, I don't have nothing against the guy. He's a champion for a reason. And I want to become a champion. And then I still on the same path. He's still on the same path. We might, you know, cross paths again, but nothing against Camaro at all.
Absolutely. So I have to ask, you know, off of that question, do you have a specific, you know, stylistic? Obviously, you had a lot of success in the first fight. You're basically the only person. You are the only person to knock down Camaro Usman and seriously have him rocked during a fight. You had tremendous success. It didn't go your way. Do you know what you need to do specifically against him next? Now, and it's fair if you don't want to share that, right? But I had to ask.
For sure, a lot of little things that I adjust already. Especially staying disciplined, you know, is a little thing that I had to do. And I did on that fight, you know, that's the only why I took the fight against the Wonder Boy, because I want to fight discipline, and I did. And yeah, I got to stay disciplined, a little technicals, and I learned so much, and I'm able to control myself a lot better right now. And for sure, it'll be a different fight. I still gonna be my style. Is still gonna be aggressive, but I think I will evolve and then do a lot of different things on the next fight.
Okay, this is fascinating. So, just so I understood you correctly, are you saying that one of the reasons you took the Wonder Boy fight was to make it in a disciplined manner going forward? Wow,
that was one of the learning, you know, all the things that I learned on the fight with Camaro, and I want to make sure I did learn. You know, I know how to fight composed and relax, follow the strategy, because I didn't do that in Camaro's fight. So at that fight, I really want to do it. I want to stay composed. I want to stay disciplined, and then I think I did.
All right, absolutely. So another question I've got from a listener is, and this is from Stargazer99, wants to know, what is your true opinion of so his character, not as a fighter?
I think he might be a very nice guy. I think a lot of guys say he's cool. He's a respectful dude. I know the coach for MMA Masters, Cesar Carnero and Daniel Valverde. They say he's a good student, a good guy, respectful, respected all the teammates. I think he's my character, so I don't take enough pressure. For sure, I want to fight the guy, I want to beat the guy, but as a person, it's hard to say. I don't know him, but people that know him say he's a very nice guy.
Wow, fascinating, guys! You heard it here first. Apparently, Colby Covington's a nice guy. So Gil, so just to confirm, then you think it's just all a character. You've heard he's a nice guy. It's just all a character.
Yeah, he's all character. He's all part of his character, and I do believe he's a cool guy. But he says some crazy stuff. But who am I to judge? I call those guys out too and talk a lot of shit too sometimes, and I try to keep a respectful way, but I don't know. I don't want to judge the guy. I think he's doing what he had to do, and he's doing good. He just earned another title shot, beating title Woodley, so I think he's doing something good.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Gilbert, I wanted to ask you this question. So obviously, me and you have been friends for some time now, but it was my opinion, just kind of looking out from a third-person perspective, that you gained a ton of followers, a ton of social media influence, and just a ton of influence in the UFC in general after you defeated Tyron Woodley. And my question to you is, how has that been a hard transition, getting so much more attention, or have you enjoyed it? Have you not enjoyed the action?
I enjoy. It was good. That I get a lot of more recognition, got great sponsors. And but the criticism is a thing that before I think I was more into social media. I was crazy. Now I kind of fast in social media a little bit. I don't. Before I spoke up, first thing that I do, I was looking at my phone, checking. Now I do that anymore. And going to a fight, I feel like last fight I was wrong with all the social media, and I'm looking forward next fight to be maybe 2-3 weeks out of social media for sure. I'm gonna have my wife or my brother posting for me, but it seems to be a little out, and then just focus with that, focus strategy, training, and grass and Cobra family. It gives me a little break, but I do like a lot. I'll be honest. But sometimes you just gotta get away a little bit and focus on the work and on things that I have to do.
Yeah, absolutely, and I'm so glad you said that. So just so we can clear this up for the record, I of course know the truth, but there's a lot of people, Gilbert, that think that your social media and your Twitter is run by Ali Abdelaziz. Now, I know that's not true. I know it's you, but just for the record, can you clear it up once and for all? It is you who runs your social media, correct?
Yeah, it's only me. My wife has my accounting. That's
Great.
it, just
Great.
nobody. And I don't know why people have that, because and to be honest, sometimes I ask Ali, hey, I think I'm going to do this. What do you think? Go ahead.
Sure.
I ask him sometimes, what do you think about this guy? Yeah, talk shit, go there. Sometimes I get a little. I ask him, what do you think? And they say, go ahead. He never say, don't do that. He always say, yeah, talk about that guy too. This guy, try to take that fight. But he never tweeted for me. He never say no to. He always say, go ahead. Okay, I don't care. I like it.
I love it. I love it. All right, so that's on the record, everyone. Gilbert is running his own social media, so I hope we can put that to bed. So, quick question here. You mentioned, obviously, your first two choices in fighting next are Jorge Masvidal and Leon Edwards. Which fight do you think would be an easier fight for you?
I don't think no one's an easier fight. I do think Leon Edwards is the toughest guy outside of Camaro. That's just Leon Edwards. But I'm here to be the champion, so I want to beat all these guys. That's why my first option is Leon Edwards. I think he's the toughest guy, and that's the one I want to fight. But Masvidal coming from 2 losses, he's going to be very motivated. So he's going to get 2 losses, those guys get motivated. They don't want to get 3 losses in a row. You know? If they do get 3 losses in a row, people are gonna say, "Oh, that guy should be." That thought's gonna come from all the fans. So I know. That's why I asked for those 2 guys. Leo, I think he's he's supposed to be fighting for the title right now. So that's why I won this fight, because I think he's the toughest one. Then Masvidal and Nate, but I think they all gonna bring it. They all motivated. They all want to prove something, you know. And that's why I like those 3 fights.
Absolutely, absolutely. And then my last question here. I know I've taken up your time, Gil. Thank you again for the interview. Really appreciate it. So Camaro has talked recently, specifically right before UFC 263, Adesanya versus Vettori. He said, well, if Marvin wins the belt and Adesanya's not the champ, I want to move up and get that middleweight belt. That's what Camaro Usman said. My question to you is simple. If you get, or when, hopefully, you get that next title shot in the next year or 2, would you prefer it to be against unfinished business with him, or would you prefer it to be against someone else, perhaps for a vacant title, like against a Colby or a Leon, because, you know, you used to, you know, your buddies with Camaro used to train with him? Which would you prefer?
I want to fight all these guys. You know, rappers. I do think Camaro is going to remain champion.
Yep.
But I want to fight every single one. I want to, whenever I decide to be done with sports, I want to look at the toughest guy and say, "Oh yeah, for everybody." Okay? I do think Camaro is going to remain champion, so I got to do that.
I love it. I love it. Gilbert, I've taken so much of your time. Is there anything else that you wanted to say? Any messages you wanted to make clear before we end?
Not really. So just shout out to all the fans supporting me. And tune in for the next one. If you kind of was a little disappointed, tune in to the next one. It's going to be a good one.
I love it. Ladies and gentlemen, joined by the one and only Gilbert Dorino Burns. Thank you, my brother. Have a wonderful day, and I truly appreciate the time.
Take it easy, brother. Have a good one.
Thank you. All right. We're back from the Gilbert Burns interview. And it's now time, Fight Geek, to move on to our recap and review of Bellator 263, Pitbull versus Mckee. What did you make of the main event? Obviously, Mckee getting the stoppage via submission in the first round, shocking many. He is now undefeated. What do you think of this?
Yeah, I mean, unbelievable performance. You know, shocking to say the least. I mean, last week I was, you know, waxing poetic about Pitbull and, you know, his spot in the game and what a true tough guy he is. And then he just got absolutely ran over by, you know, a once-in-a-lifetime talent, what it looks like. I mean, A.J. McKee's a guy who seems to have put it all together. He's got the length, the athleticism, the confidence. He's finishing fights in a variety of ways. And to do it against a guy who I respect that way, yeah, shocking to say the least. But, you know, A.J. McKee is clearly a star. You know, at 26 years old, the sky is the limit for a guy with that kind of skill set. So, yeah, couldn't have been more impressed by that. It was a star-making evening, in my opinion, considering he was in his hometown, walked out to Snoop Dogg, had a whole vibe to it. Big night for A.J. McKee.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. I obviously started off by saying he is now undefeated. What I meant was he is now undefeated and the champ, of course.
Yeah,
now here's my question for you, Fight Geek. What do you do with A.J. McKee next? Now, a lot of people are saying make Mckee versus Pitbull 2 for the 155 belt, because as we know, Patricio Pitbull is still the lightweight champ. Is that the move to make, yes or no?
Maybe eventually, but I don't necessarily think I'd want that next. But, you know, who knows, man? That's I wouldn't want to burn those two matchups so close together because I think those are special matchups. But A.J. McKee is going to be that kind of guy who's chasing that champ status. Probably going to want that pretty quick. But I do like the idea of him versus some of the other guys at 145 who may be, you know, up for a title shot. I think there are some interesting fights for him before he immediately jumps to 155.
Absolutely. So we don't have time to cover too much more of this card, but I did want to briefly touch on Usman Nurmagomedov, Khabib's cousin, climbing to 13-0 with a TKO via knee to the body against Manny Muro at 3:30 of round number 1. You know, it's time to ask, is Usman Nurmagomedov at 13-0, is he for real?
I think that's clearly yes. Not only is he for real, but I think, those fighters continue to prove that they're real. And Khabib Khabib may have a big second career in coaching. I think he understands the game. He certainly understands how to coach his fighters. So
I believe
impressive.
he went 3-0. I believe he went 3-0 on the night.
Yeah, so I'm impressed with Khabib as a coach, and I mean, I've always been impressed with those fighters, and he's one of the brighter, shining young prospects.
Absolutely, absolutely. Was there any other fight that you felt we needed to touch on this card?
Not particularly, but I just wanted to say that I did think this card felt kind of like the culmination of the last few years of work Bellator had been putting in. It was a great card top to bottom, lots of action, and then culminated in a star-making performance. So Bellator, big weekend for them.
Absolutely, absolutely. I definitely agree. Really enjoyed Bellator 263. And the last thing I'll say on it is I really enjoy their switch to Showtime. I think it really benefits the production of the product. It's a way more natural home than, Spike TV was and all the other channels.
Agreed. And it looks good on television. And, yeah, it's a good look for sure. Big fan.
Absolutely. Okay. So it's time to move on to UFC Fight Night Hall versus Strickland. In the main event, we saw Sean Strickland get a unanimous decision win over Uriah Hall. My first question to you, I've got two on this, but my first question on this fight is Uriah Hall the biggest letdown in UFC history? And what I mean by that real quick is we had the highest hopes, and then in relativity, he didn't live up to them. Because before I used to say Michael Johnson, but Uriah Hall's starting to feel like a bigger disappointment.
That's fair. But, Uriah Hall's 18-10. He's had some signature performances. He was just on a 4-fight winning streak and, was ranked 8th in the world. So it's hard to say the guy's a quote-unquote bust. But considering, Chael was calling him more or less the next Anderson Silva on tough, it's kind of hard to live up to those expectations. Did he turn into the type of guy, that we thought early on? No. But at 18-10 and peaking at number 8 in the world, he's had a very respectable career. And I think it's probably a lot more respectable than Michael Johnson's, who, is more along the lines of a 500 fighter. Uriah was streaking up until this last fight when he met, a guy in Sean Strickland who's 30 years old in his absolute prime, finding his groove in his new weight class. I think he's 4-0 middleweight now. Sean Strickland has an unbelievable gas tank for 185 and pace. I think he'll present a lot of problems there. There's not guys that fight with that kind of pace there.
Yeah.
So I think it was a rough matchup for him. I think Sean Strickland drowns a lot of guys in that division, and the fact that Uriah Hall is 37 years old, I think shone through in that fight. All the good things I just said about him, he still is 37 years old, and he was fighting a guy 7 years younger. And Sean Strickland is 24-3. That guy has a long track record of success at this point. So I think it's just a tough matchup for Uriah Hall. I think he's probably on the downside of his career now. And I did want to note one thing. He was ultra tentative in this fight, and I was wondering if perhaps there was some, post-traumatic from the Weidman leg break or something, because he didn't seem to really be throwing his legs as hard as he generally does and as frequently. So
am I wrong? Am I too harsh? Am I too harsh, Fight Geek, to say that tentative is Uriah Hall's default position? I feel like he's always too tentative. That's what he is.
I guess you could say that, but usually when he throws the legs and his kicks and stuff, that's kind of his signature. He throws them with quite a bit of oomph, and I felt like this fight he only threw a handful out of there, maybe 60, 70%. Really didn't try to implement those at all. But yes, he's generally a tentative fighter who relies on big shots and counter shots.
Yeah, I mean, and again, I take zero pleasure in stating this. For the record, I was rooting for Uriah Hall.
I picked Uriah Hall, but I don't think there was a way to we hadn't seen Sean Strickland against, someone in the top 8, let's say. So, this was a big opportunity for him to show who he was, and he showed that he could drown a guy like Uriah Hall, excuse me. And Uriah Hall, we've known for a while, he's not as exciting as he is. He's never been known as a complete fighter. He's always been known as a guy who can be exploited. So with that being said, if you expected Uriah Hall to be 20-6 and hold a belt, then I think you had the wrong expectations of him from the beginning. So at 18-10, number 8 in the world, I think he is who we thought he was.
Okay, that's all fair. So Sean Strickland has moved up 3 spots in the middleweight rankings. He's now the number 8 contender. And I want to know who you think he should fight next. Here's the list of, obviously, Adesanya's the champ. And then here's the list of the people in front of him. Darren Till, Jack Hermanson, Derek Brunson, Marvin Vittori, Jared Cannonier, Paulo Costa, and Robert Whitaker.
Yeah, there's not a lot of names there that are available. I think most of those guys are
Most of them are absolutely booked.
So I would say, I saw the Luke Rockhold fight floating around.
Yeah, heard that was offered.
That could be a good opportunity for Sean to fight backwards versus a former champ and a big name. And that's actually a good fight for Luke Rockhold as well, because he probably will have a bit of size, and Sean's not known as a one-shot knockout puncher, which is what I think Luke should steer far clear of at this point.
Oh, yeah.
So I think that would be a good matchup. With that being said, I think someone like Kelvin Gastelum probably would be the better matchup as far as, proving where you are in the division. But I think Sean Strickland
do you like Strickland's chances in that? Because I think Gastelum waxes him.
Well, Gastelum does not have the kind of gas tank to run that at that pace. So I would actually like Sean Strickland's chances in a decision versus Gastelum.
Interesting. Okay.
But I think it's a good fight. And again, if Sean Strickland's going to fight backwards, he should fight a guy like, Gastelum or Rockhold. One's a former champion, and Gastelum almost beat the current champion. So without getting the number rankings rub, he would get, the rub of beating a very credible guy.
Absolutely. And then without going too far into this card, just because we don't have the time, I would be remiss if I didn't mention the co-main event. Cheyenne Buys, basically, she defeats Gloria. Cheyenne Buys. What did I say?
I don't know.
What did I say? I said that. Cheyenne Buys, KO via head kick and punches, defeats Gloria DePaula. And when she learned that she got Fight of the Night, she got extremely emotional. I'm sure everyone listening has seen that video. I'm just wondering did you feel that was, a touching moment that was good for the UFC, or was that a bad look for the UFC that a winning co-main event fighter is breaking down crying, saying that she's completely broke and $50,000 will literally kind of save her life?
Well, there's a lot to unpack there. I wish you would allow me to break down the action where she was incredibly violent and vicious getting the finish.
Yes, she was.
Extremely impressive. And in both of her fights, she showed quite a bit of spunk. So outside of what you're asking, I think she's an impressive fighter that's going to be fun to watch moving forward.
Oh, yeah.
I know she landed that it wasn't controversial, that head kick. I believe it was clean. I saw some other people trying to make a case that it was illegal.
It was clean. I think it was clean. I saw
that. Yeah, it was a bang-bang play, but, when a fighter leaves themselves unprotected that glaringly, I almost say it's fair game, because that was a lack of, situational awareness by DePaula. So, yeah. Long story short, do I think that's a great thing for the UFC to be broadcasting that? Probably not. But, if you understand who Cheyenne Buys is at this point, she was an 0-1 fighter who was elevated to the co-main because other fights dropped out. So it's not like this is a true co-main event fighter who's struggling financially like that. She's basically a rookie who's played one game and lost that one game up until this point. So while the fight game is very, very rough, I don't necessarily share the same view everyone else does.
Fight Geek doesn't care about poor people, everyone.
Oh, I am poor people. Trust me. I care about them, but, does she classify as a true co-main event fighter, in your opinion?
No, of course not.
Okay, so it's not apples to apples here. So I think she probably, actually, I don't know. I'm happy she did get it, but I think she earned it based on the vicious performance. So keep having vicious performance. She fights like that another 5 or 6 times. She won't have to worry about her pay as much, as I guess my point. With that being said, I am a big proponent of increasing fighter pay for the record.
Absolutely, absolutely. Okay. So moving on to UFC 265, Lewis versus Gane.
I know this fight card has taken a bunch of hits because of the title fight, but it's got some sexy matchups in my opinion.
It really does. It really does, and I'm glad you said that because I'm gonna start a little bit lower on the card than some people might think. I'm gonna start with Rafael Fiziev versus Bobby Green on the prelims, the prelim main event. Who you got on this?
Well, yeah, that's an unbelievable fight, and I love both of these fighters. Both of them bring it. I think Fiziev is the more technical guy, but Bobby Green is clearly the more seasoned and crafty guy. Couldn't be more impressed with what I saw from Fiziev the last couple fights, so I'm going to go with Rafael Fiziev via third-round TKO.
Is it Fiziev? Because Luke Thomas was saying Fiziev, so you're making me feel dumb.
I really
you might be right. I don't trust Luke Thomas.
Fiziev.
Okay.
Tomato. I don't know.
Okay, I got Rafael as well via second round TKO.
I think he'll have, the shorter, straighter punches. Bobby Green's incredibly tough, but I think he has an opportunity to eat a lot of hard shots in this fight.
Absolutely.
But I'd like to actually back it up a touch because I think the return of Karolina Kowalkiewicz is actually worthy of note. She's fighting Jessica Penne. Both of these girls are probably on the chopping block, and both were former title challengers.
It's a winner-go-home fight. Who you got?
I think Karolina pulls this out. I think at their best, Karolina was better. And now that they've both kind of aged past their prime, I think she'll still be a touch better. I think she'll take it by split decision.
Ooh, close one. I've got Karolina Kowalkiewicz as well via unanimous decision, and I'm going to be honest, I really like her. I'm a little biased, and I don't want to see her get cut. I wouldn't like to see it, so I really hope she wins.
Yeah, and I think she would be on like a 4 or 5 fight losing streak, wouldn't she?
I believe she's on a 4 fight losing streak right now.
Yep, she's lost 6 of her last 8.
Yeah.
So she needs this win badly to keep her career going at 35 years old.
All right. So moving on to the main card. First and foremost, we've got a great bantamweight fight. Man, bantamweight has really heated up lately, huh? And it's between Casey Kenny and Song Yadong. Who you got?
Yeah, unbelievable fights. Both very, very tough. I don't think either of them are prospects at this point, but young fighters. I'm going to go Song Yadong here. I think he's going to win via unanimous decision. I just think he's a little sharper on the feet, a little more versatile.
Yeah, that's annoying. I have to agree with you on that, which is always irritating. Don't like to agree. Okay, so let's move on. Tasha Torres versus Angela Hill. Let me go ahead. I've got Angela Hill winning this via unanimous decision, 29-28.
I have Tasha Torres winning by split decision. I think she's been extremely sharp her last few fights. I think she's a little better fight IQ than Angela Hill, and I think Tasha Torres will get a big win.
All right. Okay, moving on to the third to last fight. We've got Michael Kiesa taking on Vicente Luque. Our earlier guest, Gilbert Burns, is in Houston for Vicente. Yeah, what a fascinating fight, man.
Yeah, insane fight.
Before you pick, before I even know your pick, I want to know this. Am I crazy for thinking that this fight is extraordinarily difficult to pick?
You are correct in feeling that way.
Yeah.
It is a tough fight. I've gone back and forth on it, and looking at it right now, I can actually make a case for both guys winning and losing. So it's a very tough one. I wouldn't bet on this fight.
Oh, no.
I think it comes down to Vicente Luque's toughness and sharp striking against, the size of Michael Kiesa and, grappling. With that being said, I think Michael Kiesa gets this done with fight IQ and grappling via unanimous decision.
Woo! All right. I got Vicente Luque by third round TKO.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, Kiesa's going to be a hard guy to get out of there at that size, I feel like. But yeah, I mean, anything can happen in this one. So, awesome fight. I don't know if it has fight of the night contender written on it, but should be
it might. It might.
Well, I think that Bobby Green Fiziev fight is fight of the night, if I'm throwing one out there.
Okay, well, you haven't even named the co-main event, which we're getting to right now. What about Jose Aldo versus Pedro Munoz?
Yep, that's a good one. I think the action will be, awesome here. I'm actually going to take Jose Aldo in this one via split decision. A lot of decisions here because I just feel like a lot of guys, a lot of close fights, a lot of tough fighters. It's hard to see either of these guys stopping each other right now, in my opinion.
I got Jose Aldo via unanimous decision.
Awesome. And then, this is 6 versus 7. This would set up a huge fight for Jose Aldo next.
It sets up a huge fight for the winner regardless.
True.
Right?
Yeah, agreed. But, Jose Aldo, I think, at this point, is a little more of a surprise to see him surging into the top 5 of a new division.
Yeah, very fair. Very fair. So, moving on to the main event, we have Derrick Lewis versus Surreal God. Now, I've been outspoken on Twitter that I think God's getting a little too much credit, a little too much love for his unanimous decision victories over Rosenstrike and Volkov. Everyone seems to think he's, Ngannou times a million. I do not share that opinion. Having said that, what a close fight this is. Really hard to call. And I have to go with my complete gut. And my gut says that Lewis does not catch him. And I'm disgusted saying this because I'm rooting for Lewis so bad. But my prediction is gone by unanimous decision, and I hope I'm wrong.
Yeah, I hate that I'm agreeing with you here, but I do believe the mobility of Gane, the fight IQ, the jab. I think he's mobile enough to steer clear of Derrick Lewis, and yeah, I think he's going to win a decision here. But with that being said, Derrick Lewis is the kind of guy who can catch anyone at any time. He can lose 24 plus minutes of a fight and still win the fight. So, yeah, that's going to be interesting to see, but I think Gane has a big advantage with his mobility.
Absolutely. I think without question, you've got to give him the mobility. He's got a big advantage with mobility, and that's just what it is. But
well, and his jab was amazing last fight too. He's very good controlling, distance and range. And Derrick Lewis is a guy who he never really fights in one place. He's back against the fence, hunched over, holding his belly. He's throwing flying kicks every now and again. He's running away from the action and then throwing crazy counters. So I think what you can bet on is that Gane is gonna kind of be the more traditional fighter and hold to that. So unless he gets caught with something wild, I think you're going to see Gane outclass him on the feet.
Last thing I'll say on this, because I've already said it on Twitter, it's gotten a little bit of heat. Whoever wins Derrick Lewis versus Surreal God has absolutely nothing for Francis Ngannou. I want to be clear, nothing for him. Ngannou will easily destroy the winner.
You're on record.
I'm on record. I'm going to get lit up if I'm wrong. You guys know how it works. Okay, so with that, guys, we're going to take a really quick break, and then we'll be back with listener questions and more. Hey guys, it's Phil the MMA Dude letting you know that this episode of the Split Decision Podcast is brought to you by TotalAggressionClothing.com. Visit www.TotalAggressionClothing.com and use the promo code 46210 to receive a special Split Podcast discount on all Total Aggression hats, shirts, hoodies, and more. Again, that's www.TotalAggressionClothing.com with promo code 46210. Hey guys, it's Phil the MMA Dude back with the Split Decision Podcast, episode number 109, here with my always brilliant co-host, the Fight Geek, and it is now time for my favorite section of all, and that is... Listen up!
Alright, we got some good ones tonight.
Yeah, we do. All right, so let's start off with our main man, Zan Bando. Guys, that's at ZanBando99. He says, hey, fellas, happy August. Here are my questions. 1, with how much scrutiny UFC 265 has gotten, how would you rate the event as a whole only a few days out, scale of 1 to 10? 2, TSN is reporting that ABC will broadcast UFC 267 exclusively. What are your thoughts on this? Hashtag AskSplitPod. So, Fight Geek, first question. What do you give UFC 265?
Just on action and lineup alone, I would say it's an 8 out of 10.
Wow, that's a high score.
Well, it's got Jose Aldo, the Black Beast, Song Yadong versus, Casey Kenny's a good action fight. You've got Bobby Green. I mean,
wait, are we not holding the circumstances of the belt against it? Because I hate that belt.
Well, that's what I said, based on the action. Yeah, if you want to worry about the politics of it all, go ahead. But as far as the card's concerned and the matchups are concerned, that's irrelevant. Black Beast versus Surreal God's an unbelievable heavyweight fight. It's one of the best. I mean, in the current heavyweight era, these are all some of the greatest heavyweight matchups of all time. So that's a great fight. Black Beast is the all-time.
Black Boss sounds cool too, though. Let's be honest.
That's a rapper I used to manage. Sorry. The Black Beast.
He's actually telling the truth, by the way, everyone. That is serious.
Go to SoundCloud, Black Boss.
Yeah. Okay. Go ahead.
The Black Beast, by the way, the all-time KO leader in the heavyweight division. I mean, that's enough to be a 6 out of 10 alone headlining the bill. So yeah, it's a great card.
Okay. I wouldn't give it an 8. I think that's a little friendly, but I'll give it
But it has Carolina on it, though.
It does. And because of that, it's going to move from a 6 to a 7.
All right. Well, a 7 out of 10 is not bad for the mid-August card.
Not at all.
And then as far as UFC 267 being on ABC, I love it. I grew up in a time where ABC and NBC on the weekends is where racing and boxing and basketball, and it was always on. That's the premier time slot in television channel growing up. So I think that's a milestone to be on ABC on Saturday broadcasting your sport. That's when you're truly with the big boys.
Absolutely. A few very, very astute followers of mine correctly pointed out that this would hypothetically take place at the peak, arguably, of the beginning of the college football season. And of course, we know that Saturdays are college football days. Do you have any
100%.
thoughts? Do you have any thoughts on that? Like, is this going to happen? A lot of people are saying this isn't going to happen because ABC's not going to. They're not going to be willing to give up those ratings for the college football game that they're going to play that day.
Well, yeah, it definitely depends. So I guess we'll have to see when the schedules come out and all that. But yeah, just depends. I mean, we see it sometimes.
But never. Yeah. We haven't seen it with a pay-per-view.
We have not seen it with the pay-per-view, but it's in Abu Dhabi, right?
I believe so, yes.
So the timing is not going to be in American prime time. So
no, Dana said it would be in. Dana already said it would be late morning / early afternoon in North America.
Which makes a lot of sense because that way the Sunday wouldn't lose its primetime football. You could still put USC versus UCLA or Oregon Ducks on at 8 o'clock at night and have your primetime game.
I agree, but as we know, late morning or early afternoon, that is primetime college football.
Only for the Michigan group.
Shots fired. All right. Fair. Okay. That's very fair.
Michigan and Notre Dame group, yep.
I like the Notre Dame. I like the Notre Dame insults a lot more. So yes.
I'm just meaning the Midwestern games are the ones that are on at 10, 11 in the morning. The West Coast games start at like 2, 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and then they put Clemson and Alabama generally on in prime time as well. So if the fight card was in the early morning or mid-morning, I don't think it would infringe too much.
Okay. Good to
And
know.
now you know that I watch way too much college football.
We already knew that, or at least I did. Okay, so this question comes from the man, Cyrus King, at Cyrus King. Make sure to follow him. He's got a great podcast, Combat Corner. Great dude. He says, I know Phil doesn't love Surreal God, but do you guys think in terms of pure talent, he's the most talented heavyweight? Now, at heavyweight, technique itself might not be enough. I'm just curious how you gauge his abilities on their own. Wow, what a great question, Cyrus. Thank you.
Awesome question. And I would say, no, he's not the most talented heavyweight because I believe that's Francis Ngannou personally. But
even
is he
technically?
one of them? Well, technically, it's not a talent. That is a skill you've sharpened over repetition and practice. Talent is what you're given to work with, in my opinion. And nobody was given more God-given talent from the looks of it than Francis Ngannou. I mean,
True.
He's incredibly explosive. I think he's taller than Gane. I think he has a much larger frame than Gane. I don't know who would run faster or do agility drills better, but I think overall, and the fact that, Surreal God has not shown.
I think it's gone, by the way. It's bothering me.
Okay, Surreal God
I think.
has not shown one-shot knockout power, so as a heavyweight specifically to be considered the greatest at anything, I think you will have to show that you have that knockout power. I think heavyweights are synonymous with that, and we've seen it from all great heavyweights, other than maybe Tim Sylvia, but, even then, he still sat guys down occasionally. I think Francis Ngannou at this point is still the guy. And then I think a prime Cain Velasquez can be in that category too, based on, the cardio, the wrestling background, how uncomfortable he made elite fighters, and just how much of a terror he was overall.
Absolutely. I think those are all very valid points, frankly. So, okay, moving on.
I try.
What's up?
I said I try.
Hey, you did well this time, which is rare. Fight Geek, you usually mess up, but I'll give you it this time. Okay.
All right.
This is from Eduardo. That's at Landa Crew. He says, "Ooh, wow, he's fired up. I'm not wasting $65 on UFC 265 because that main event is bullshit. What would it take for you to skip out on a pay-per-view? #AskSplitPod. I'll go ahead and answer this first, Fight Geek.
All right.
What would it take for me to skip out on a pay-per-view? A date with a beautiful woman. I already did that at UFC 261, Masvidal versus Usman 2. I got a secret for everyone. I missed the whole card live, and I'm not sorry at all. I had a date, and it was way more important. So, yep, that's the answer.
Yeah, and I'll piggyback on that because really the only thing that'll stop me from doing it is if the beautiful woman that I've already married dictated that I'm not watching fights that weekend. So other than that, I'm watching them.
Yep, I still have obviously I still have a memory. This was very recently, but I said I had to go to the bathroom. I ran into the bathroom of the super nice restaurant, and then I'm checking my Twitter, and I'm like, oh my God, Rose won. And then everyone's like, why are you so delayed? And I was like, I'm hiding in a bathroom.
Well, you got to do what you got to do, Phil.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I don't skip out on many, and like I have said, I don't.
No, I don't either.
I've kind of, blocked out the fact that it's for like a completely irrelevant belt. And I think the matchups are awesome. I tune in for the Black Beast, Jose Aldo, Carolina, pretty much any weekend of my life. So I'll be tuning in this one too.
Agreed. Okay, this question comes from our man Juice from Friendly Sparring Podcast. Be sure to check that out, Friendly Sparring Podcast at Friendly Spar Pod. He says, #AskSplitPod. What does Angela Hill have to do to get fans to respect her? Now, my first answer is I thought fans respect her. Am I out of the loop, Fight Geek?
Yeah, I think she gets some respect. She definitely has a good fandom, but I think if she wants to get that ultimate respect as, let's say, a top 5 ranked or top whatever ranked fighter, she's got to win one of these fights at the top. She always puts together, a nice little run and then kind of stumbles a bit. She just needs to break through. I think if she were to break through, and I've called out many fighters in the past who have broke through later on, Woodley wasn't a champion till later on and such. So I still think she has a chance to break through. This weekend will be good for her. if she can get a win, because Tasha Torres is a name that's been around for a long time and has looked good in her last 2 performances. But if she stumbles here, she's going to be in a rough spot.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. In short, Juice, what Angela Hill needs to do to get that full respect is just, keep winning. Yeah, winning. And by the way, I do believe a win over Tasha Torres would go a long way. I really do.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So great question. Great question, Juice. Thank you. So this question is from a Split Podcast OG. That's Jacob Powers at Jacob Powers 2. He says, #AskSplitPod. If AJ Mckee moved to the UFC today, how well do you think he would do among everyone else in the top 5 and top 10 at featherweight?
I mean, it's a tough question. He obviously looked amazing, but that's a tough division, and he's very young. I don't think you see a lot of undefeated guys get the 18-0 in the UFC because, the competition is so stiff. But I'm just going to pull up the top 10 and have some fun here. I believe, he could probably hang with the Chan Sung Jung, Calvin Kattar crowd. Maybe Yair Rodriguez at this point, but I would certainly think that guys like Brian Ortega, Max Holloway, and Alexander Volkanovski are a little too advanced in their careers right now. We've seen so much out of those guys on different levels where there's still some questions about AJ, once he experiences, some storms.
Yep.
So right now he's just, kind of had a perfect run. I would say he could compete with the number 4 or 5 guys in the UFC right now.
Okay. Yeah, I don't disagree with that. I know I'm supposed to disagree. I don't. I think Korean Zombie versus Mckee would be great. I think Calvin Kattar versus AJ Mckee would be great. I know that, Morning Combat, Luke Thomas's podcast was saying, Mckee would have a good chance against Brian Ortega, possibly Volk, possibly Holloway. I'm simplifying. No, I think that's crazy. Can we just say that?
I think that. On any given night, anything can happen when we're talking about talents like AJ Mckee. But to be like, he just beat a guy who, in stature, who could be a 135-pounder, and say that he's going to walk through, Max Holloway all of a sudden, who has, been beating Hall of Famers for the last 5 years. That's a tough ask. And Alexander Volkanovski's probably, of the credible champions, probably the most disrespected fighter in the world. The guy is pretty damn sharp when he's in there. He has not shown a lot of weaknesses while he's in there. And he's done it in an absolutely stacked UFC division. So I think it's a tough ask, to be, to say that AJ McKee's the best featherweight on the planet right now at 26 when he's fought, probably, 4 guys that are UFC caliber. I'm not looking at his record. I'm just generalizing.
Yeah.
I think him being a top 5 guy in the world at 26 is impressive enough. I don't think that's a knock to anyone.
Absolutely. Okay, so our next question comes from the man, Jalen Ware, another Split Podcast OG. That's at strive2b_gr8. He says, could the winner of Kiesa Luque get the winner of Usman Covington 2? Or should the UFC make the winner face Leon for the number 1 contender fight? #AskSplitPod. So, yeah, is Kiesa Luque winner, getting a title shot, or do they have to fight Leon?
This is why it doesn't make sense to me. If what Leon has done isn't impressive enough for a title run, why would beating Luque or Michael Chiesa change that?
I'm not sure. I don't think that what Leon's done is enough for a title shot. I'll say that.
I'm just going to say this. So we're going to make Leon prove it like 15 times just because we don't like the guy? It makes no sense. If anyone's in line for a title shot, it's Leon. It's crazy. Everybody bitched and moaned about Tony Ferguson not getting his title shots in yada. Well,
he had a lot more. He had a lot more wins than Leon did.
What are you talking about? Isn't Leon on like a 9-fight winning streak right now?
Well, was Tony on? 12 or 13.
12, but, Tony had names like Lando Venata in that streak. It's not, so I'm just saying people pick and choose what kind of credibility they want to give people. I
don't know if that's entirely true, Fight Geek. What about, are you telling me the eye poke against Bilal is this gigantic W?
No, it's not a W, but it's a draw on his record. It sure as hell wasn't a loss.
Yeah.
I'm saying the last time that guy lost was to the sitting champion, the defending champion, and it was years ago, and he hasn't lost yet. What other kind of storyline do you need? Michael Chiesa is going to make him worthy of a title shot all of a sudden? I don't think so.
Okay.
So what I'm saying is, yeah, they probably would have a chance, but I don't see either of those guys fighting for a title soon. I just don't, because of the way how stagnant that division is, for instance.
Okay. Yeah.
But we could go back to our show guest and Gilbert. He's proof of how stagnant it is at the top. The guy,
seriously,
is trying to get a fight to prove that he's a champion. So maybe it's him versus Edwards. I don't know.
I mean, we all know, let's just go ahead and say it, welterweight, besides Gilbert Burns, everyone in the welterweight top 5 is an over-dramatic little princess. Let me go on record saying that absolutely. They won't fight anyone. I mean, it's unbelievable. It's embarrassing.
Yeah. Colby getting a title shot after doing nothing.
Colby getting a title shot's a joke.
He just waited it out, and that's not to take anything away from Colby as the fighter, but as far as what he deserved at this time is ridiculous. So if we're going off what people deserve, and I don't know if we've veered way off this question, it never goes that route. So
yeah, I think that's very fair. Okay, so the next question, I believe the final, at least Twitter question, comes from our friend of the show, Eric Buchert, and that's at ATANAK74. He says, more fighters are effectively using calf kicks, so more fighters are learning to check them. It's likely we'll see more serious leg injuries in the future. Do you think calf kicks will eventually fall out of favor? Why do you think Aldo kicks so much less now? Hashtag AskSplitPod. Very interesting question from Eric.
It is a great question. Why do I think I'm going to go down to Aldo kicking less?
Yeah.
Because this has been something that, has kind of been on my radar for a very long time. I'm not sure why he stopped, but, he certainly slowed down. And I think we've seen over time lots of fighters, as they age, throw less leg kicks. Now, I don't have a statistic on the tip of my tongue, but just from the eye test, I feel like guys that are very heavy in their kick game young. Conor McGregor's a great example of it. Go watch featherweight Conor McGregor.
Oh, he used to karate kick all the time.
And then as he started gaining weight and getting older, he became more heavy on the front foot and wanted to box and knock people out. And that's the same thing that can be said for a lot of MMA fighters. So I just think, guys progress, learn how to box and kind of, I guess, progress away from that. Aldo was a soccer player before he transitioned into MMA. So kicking was probably one of the initial strengths he had. And as he trained everything else over the years, it was just something that kind of washed away more or less. That would be my theory on Aldo specifically.
Yeah, absolutely. Hard to disagree with that. So, Fikey, do we have any more questions, or does that wrap us up?
I think that does it. Or actually, hold on. We had one recorded question from Edward.
Oh, you're right. I'm so glad you didn't forget. Edward, what's up? We love you, bro. We didn't forget.
I'm going to pull it up right here.
Wow. Real winner, Fikey, for remembering that. Oh my gosh, that would have been horrible.
Hi, Phil and Fight Geek. Firstly, a massive thank you for the Split Decision podcast. It plays a really big part in my fight week build-up, and I can't recommend it highly enough. So, I have 2 questions for you. Firstly, with Stipe seemingly open to a move to one championship, would you recommend he stays in UFC, even if it means waiting 1 to 2 years for a title shot, or make the move to one and be their flagship fighter in a growing organisation? Secondly, do you think MMA will ever be an Olympic sport? Thanks again, guys, and all the best wishes.
Awesome questions.
Awesome.
Thanks for the love.
Oh my gosh,
Appreciate you,
Edward. You're the man. I love Edward. Guys, give Edward a follow real quick. That's at Edward J MMA. Okay, I just spelled it. It's Edward J MMA. from London, England. What a great guy. And I love this dude.
I love the Stipe question because I found this to be fascinating that Stipe
Such a
reached
good
out.
question.
Yes, I'd love to see Stipe traded to 1 just because it'd be wild and exciting. And another thing, based on what we've seen from fighters translating to 1, I don't think it's a foregone conclusion that Stipe at an advanced age goes over there and is the flagship fighter. So I think that adds a ton of intrigue. Would love to see it. So all favor of that. Don't remember the specifics of the question, but I'm a big fan of Stipe leaving. I think it's annoying. Again, like the welterweight division, the heavyweight division, how stagnant it's become at the very top, and the trilogies that need to happen not being able to happen right away. If Conor McGregor wanted his trilogy, he gets it in 6 months. But when Stipe Miocic, who's been working for the UFC and proving himself for a decade, wants it, it's crickets. So, yeah, more power to him. It'd be a lot of fun to see exactly how he does because, like I said, the UFC fighters haven't gone over there and just waxed all their stars. It's been quite the contrary.
Yeah, I actually completely agree. I think that especially from a business perspective, right? If you're Stipe or his management and you're looking at this from a money perspective, I'm thinking the move is 100% to move to 1 championship, especially if Stipe is down to fight for a few more years, which I believe he is. I think that's a no-brainer. Now, from a competitive standpoint, I want to see Stipe versus Ngannou 3. I know I don't think Stipe is going to win that fight. I just think that for it would benefit Francis to beat him twice for his own legacy. But again, I totally get that doesn't benefit Stipe or his fans. I understand. That's why I think Stipe Miocic to 1 would be such a good move for him personally.
Yeah, agreed. So, great question.
What was Edward's second question? Uh-oh.
I'm muting you to listen. Plug us. Plug us, Paul, or Phil.
Did you actually forget my... Wait, we're keeping this in. You forgot my name? Guys, Fight Geek just thought my name was Paul. I'm literally Phil the MMA dude. Like, it's... My act is Phil the MMA dude. And Fight Geek just thought my name was Paul. That is so offensive. That's so offensive. Me and him are like actual friends too. Like, this is fucked up. This is like straight up fucked up.
Really goes to show you where you lie.
Yeah,
Sorry. Edward's second question was, do you think MMA will ever be an Olympic sport?
Oh, that's right. And that's a great question. Yeah.
It is an awesome question. Go ahead.
My answer is yes. I absolutely do think so. And if anyone disagrees, my biggest question would be, why do you disagree? Look, they've got wrestling, they've got judo.
They got airsoft guns in the Olympics.
Yeah, they've got every made-up sport under the sun. You're telling me you're not going to have a real sport like mixed martial arts? Come on, get out of here. I think they'll absolutely
and one that dates back to like the original Olympic Games and pancration and all that. So I think that's actually going to would be a natural fit to go back to the games.
Literally, and if anyone wants to question that, go read the Iliad and the Odyssey. Those are very old books, and they have mixed martial arts in them. So
your history lesson, courtesy of teacher Paul.
This guy literally called me Paul. Guys, he called me Paul! Oh my god, bro. I'm never going to let you live that. You called me Paul, bro.
You sound like a Paul, Phil.
I get called Paul a lot, so this is extra offensive. No offense to the Pauls listening. I'm sure you guys are good, but whatever.
Okay,
we done? All right, so I think that's it, right?
Yeah, on that note, after I've offended you, let me take it away.
Wait, okay, so real quick, before Fight Geek takes it away. Guys, if you like the Split Decision podcast, if you want us to continue, if you enjoyed the interview with Gilbert Burns, if you enjoyed our breakdowns, I do ask you politely, please hop on to Apple Podcast app, give us a quick 5-star review. You can write whatever you want, great show, good show, whatever. As long as you give us those 5 stars, it does a tremendous favor to us. It really helps the show. If you didn't like the show and you don't want to give us 5 stars, please go away and don't review the show. We want you to go away. We don't want you to review. But, okay, joking aside, if you like the show, please give us 5 stars. With that, Fight Geek, take us away, baby!
All right, guys, as usual, you can find us on iTunes, Spotify, YouTube, Google Play, Stitcher, and more. I'm at The Fight Geek MMA. He's at Phil, the MMA dude. We are at Split_podcast. It's 4 words, the Split Decision Podcast. Thanks for tuning in, and we will talk to you next week. Peace.
Peace.